Hello there, you're watching Your Trades on ET now with me, Sneha, and with me is Priyanka Uppal. And well, rather range-bound trading day coming in, but we did see some recovery seen on Nifty as well as Nifty Bank. You had Nifty that ended the day at the highest point of the trading session, and well, 24,770 thereabouts is where we've ended the day for the Nifty, 0.3% higher. Sensex also 0.1% higher, above 80,900 is where Sensex has ended. Nifty Bank, however, recovered roughly 350 points from the day's low, but has managed to still not turn over to the green, has ended the day in the red, 0.2% lower coming in for Nifty Bank as well. Broader markets, you had the mid-cap index in tandem with the benchmarks, but it was the small-cap index that was an outperformer in today's trade, 1.2% higher for the small-cap index today. A couple of big buzzers in today's trading session. You had PNB Housing that was in focus on the back of a block deal that we saw this morning. So PNB Housing was a big performer in today's trading session. 10% higher is where the stock has ended the day. You also had Cyient DLM that was in focus, and Cyient International, the parent, is likely to be the seller. We'll get more details later, but well, yes, Cyient DLM has ended the day with a 1.5% cut because you had a big chunk of that stock also changing hands in the morning today. Genus Power's wholly owned subsidiary received 3 letters of award, so that stock was locked up in upper circuit 5%. On the flip side, GETND locked down in a lower circuit of 5% on the back of news that the stakeholders are planning to trim a slight bit of a stake in that company as well. Dhanuka Agritech buyback will be opening tomorrow, so that stock held up pretty smartly. Thomas Cook also was locked up 5% in upper circuit on the back of an app they have launched. Lots of other stocks to watch out for: HDFC Life, SBI Life on the back of the July performance. You had Bofa Note on Varun Beverages, so that stock held up by 2.3%. They've maintained a buy rating with a target price of 1840. And we also had word coming in from SEBI. They have received a letter where exchanges have written to them. They've submitted their response on the proposed overhaul in the F&O norms, and both exchanges have given agreement on 7 proposals in SEBI's consultation paper. That is what sources have told us. So that was one of the big news to watch out for today. Also, another exclusive news that trickled in today on ET Now was the Haldiram Blackstone deal that has apparently fizzled out and hit a roadblock and might not be happening at all, is what sources have told us. We'll also take you through more detail about this later. But well, Priyanka, this is what I was spotting. This is what stood out to me. What's caught your eye?
Absolutely. In fact, what I saw was a narrow range trade, but then at least we are inching upwards. Banks were a spoil spot today. However, we did saw a long built-up trend on banks, especially after the kind of move we saw in private and public sector banks yesterday. But then they were a kind of a spoil spot today. The banks were down today, but a lot of standout gainers, especially from the broader markets. You talk about stocks from auto ancillary space, capital goods space, brokerage stocks, just like Snehi just mentioned. That's the reason Angel One has been running from last 3 days, what we saw. A couple of other names from that space, in fact. Gems and jewelry, you talk about stocks which are especially jeweler stocks. Top counters on the Nifty were also, one of them was Titan, and of course Kalyan Jewelers in the mid-cap pack. Gems and jewelry counters, even hotel counters. So a lot of sub-sectors from broader market where the real action was. In fact, it was a stock picker market. Not much of excitement on the indices, but then talking in terms of specific sectors, smaller sub-sectors, there were a lot of action. In fact, recovery trade and shipbuilding sector, that's what we saw. Mesgaon Dock, Cochin Shipyard, good sort of move here. At least, especially after we've seen the kind of fall we've seen in PSU space, be it shipping or defense or even railways. Yes, but then one more stock news that we tracking is, of course, there's a railway tenders worth 30,000 to 35,000 crore which are in offering. And that's what one reason could be possibly that we saw that some kind of spark in railway stocks also. There are also planned for 12,000 to 15,000 megawatt of thermal power projects. That's also the news that will get you in detail later in the show. But then what caught my attention was Snehi was the Piyush Goyal comments also, where he's spoken about safeguarding the small merchants' interest also. A lot of news, but then let's go further and understand that where are we headed towards. Slowly, we're taking baby steps, or at least we are rising and leveling up. We have Ruchit Jain on the show to talk about the levels and his recommendation on the show. Ruchit, welcome. tell us, what are you making sense of? What is the sense that you have on the indices today? Banks were up yesterday. Today, again, we saw kind of a spoil spot coming in from banks today. How to navigate on the front of levels on both Nifty and Bank Nifty?
Yeah, hi, very good afternoon, Priyanka. Very good afternoon, Lisa. Well, we have seen that slow and gradual up move, as you said, no, continues for Nifty. So this clearly indicates that no, our markets are still in an uptrend, and this can also be anticipated by looking at the broader market participation and the market breadth. In last 2 or 3 trading sessions, the intraday range for Nifty has been very narrow. But what we have seen that the market breadth is quite positive. So whenever you see any a gradual up move which has been supported by a good market breadth, I think that's a sign of an uptrend, and hence we believe that the uptrend should continue going ahead. Yes, participation is not coming from the banking index. That's the truth. But the Bank Nifty index also has managed to form a strong support around that 49,650 to 49,700, which were last week's low. And that is important because that is also the 50% retracement of the entire previous move in the Bank Nifty, which we witnessed from that elections day results low. So I think there are no negative signs as of now. Even if you look at the derivatives data, then FIs have about 52% long positions. Client section, which includes retail and HNIs, they have 52% long positions. So none of the market participants are looking to create aggressive short formations over here. So that's the reading that we are taking from this derivatives data as well. So I think any kind of decline, if we get maybe 24,500, 24,600, this would act as a very strong, very good support now in case of any such decline. So one should use that as a buying opportunity. Bank Nifty, yes, needs to sustain above that 51,000 mark. Maybe today it was the weekly expiry day, so no momentum over there. But if this index manages to surpass 51,000 again, then we should expect some move in the banking index as well.
Those are the views coming in from Ruchit on the levels to watch out for and not seeing aggressive short. Hi Ruchit, this is Snehi also joining in the conversation. On this note, tell us what stocks you are picking for our viewers, and given that consumption has been a safe space as of now and FMCG did pretty well, are your picks from that sector? Are you only looking towards large caps, or do you have a mixed bag here? What are your picks?
Yeah, very good afternoon, Snehi. Well, I have a couple of recommendations both from the large cap stocks, although we are quite positive and from the mid caps also. But no, still I think no, there are good opportunities in the large cap space which can drive the markets higher. So FMCG, you rightly pointed out that no, after a consolidation of about 10-15 days, then if the FMCG index have seemed to be resuming its uptrend. So I think FMCG space could do well. HUL is looking quite positive, within the sector, where a bullish flag pattern breakout has been seen in today's trading session. So we advise going long on HUL with stop loss below 27.40 for potential targets around 28.80 in the near term. And Titan is another name from the consumer durable space, which is looking good. In fact, if you look at some positional charts of Titan, it made the all-time high around in the month of February. Then it went through a decent corrective phase, formed a good support around its weekly 89 EMA, and a gradual high top high bottom structure has been seen. Today also we witnessed a falling trendline breakout which was supported by better than averages volume. So I think here the downside risk is very limited now for Titan. So one can go long on Titan over here, keeping stop below 34.50, expecting targets around 37.50 in the short term.
All right, Ruchit, thanks so much for taking us through that. So those were the picks and views coming in from Ruchit, but let's keep it going on the technicals. And we now have Shrishti joining us in the studio to flag off the stocks that she has been pointing out on the charts today. Shrishti, what are those stocks today?
So two counters on the breakout side, because we have seen a lot of excitement in the broader market space in comparison to the large cap. So indeed, two counters from the mid and the small end of the market. Firstly, let's have a look at Crompton Greaves Consumers. Earlier as well, if you remember, we have highlighted this stock anywhere between 320 odd rupees, and now see the run up that we have seen on this counter. This is a daily chart that we are witnessing, but I would advise if anybody is interested, they can look out for the last 5-year chart, and that's very interesting to note that this time the stock is trying and making an attempt to cross its highs of 2021, because at that time the stock made a high of close to 490 odd rupees, and now the stock is yet again making an attempt. But on the daily chart we have spotted that the stock did take a bounce from its 20-day moving average and then resume its journey upwards, and hence we have spotted this stock on the breakout side. Moving on to the next counter, then that too is a stock which is seen to be very near to its all-time high, and that is Castrol India. A lot of things changing when it comes to the fundamentals for Castrol India, but on the technical front, what we see is that the stock has been on a strong uptrend, did try to consolidate for some time, but now a falling trend line breakout is what we have seen, because the selling pressure for the past so many days has been covered in just single candle for today, 268, and at the day's highest point is where the stock shut shop and indeed taking a bounce from its 20-day moving average. So these are the two counters on the breakout side. Back to you guys.
Alright, thanks very much, Srishti. So Crompton Greaves and Castrol India, two stocks what Srishti highlighted based on the technicals. Moving on, let's get to the word from the wise. PSU counters across the board are witnessing a reversal in the band of 20 to 30%. But is this is the caution warranted, or are they in for a bounce back, or the best is yet to come? We spoke to Sumit Nagar of Malabar Investments. He cautious against the sector, but what is his rationale behind it? Let's listen in.
The reason why we don't like PSUs, and it's not that we don't appreciate what they do. I think on the whole, they've done service to the nation, right, since their inception. But as an investment target, our biggest challenge with PSUs is twofold. One is that the governance is unclear, and number two, incentives are not best aligned with value creation. So yes, you will find pockets of time where they can do very well. Past year or so, when the government was spending heavily, was a very good time for PSUs. But it's unclear if they have all the drivers for long-term value creation. So they've done well, may continue to do well for some time. But I think if you take 5, 7, 10 years views, it's tough to see how they can be consistent value creators compared to a private organization where incentives for everyone from top to down are fully aligned with value creation.
That's the word coming in from Sumit Nagar of Malabar Investments, talking about why he doesn't like the PSU space as of now. But on that note, we'll slip into a short break on this edition of Your Trades. We'll be right back to discuss more about the day that went by and the outlook for tomorrow when we return.
Welcome back, you're watching Your Trades. The trend for Bank Nifty looks a little different, but then trend for Nifty, though the move was in a narrow range, but at least it's on the long side only. So long built up on Nifty. India VIX is continues to be on the lower side. 13.3 is the level that on India VIX we're tracking. On the call side, the maximum call writing, because we did saw that there was not a free flow movement which we could see on Nifty. There were resistance on upper strikes like 24,900, 24,800, because the maximum of the call writing is happening here. And put writing, the support is also at 24,700. So looks like a phase of consolidation which was there for Nifty as well as for Bank Nifty to some level.
Absolutely, 24,900 on the resistance and 24,700 support level to watch out for. So watch out for those levels on the benchmark. But let's move on, talk about the big story of the day, and that has to be Divi's Labs today, because Divi's Labs was upbeat after a US court stayed the FDA's approval against a rival for heart drug Entresto. This drug is supplied by Divi's to the innovator Novartis, and the restriction on the generic will ensure pricing support. My colleague Srishti, who tracks the sector closely, is joining us with more details and why this was a positive for Divi's and why was Divi's upbeat in today's trade. Srishti.
Well, there's actually a positive development for Swiss pharma major Novartis, which indeed is positive for Divi's Lab, because do remember that Divi's Lab is one of the key suppliers to Novartis for a particular drug named Entresto, and Novartis has been fighting a case in the US court for one of their top selling drug named Entresto to restrict the entry of the generic version of this particular drug into the markets, and there has been a favorable outcome on that particular front, because FDA's approval of a generic version of heart failure drug Entresto is now paused, and Novartis appealed preliminary injunction denial, and the appeal court says that the drug maker satisfied the requirement for stays. What does it mean that the generic version is now, the entry of that in the markets is now paused? So Novartis will keep selling these products into the markets, and this is one of the top selling drugs for Novartis AG, and Divi's is one of the key suppliers for this particular drug. And to remember that this has a significant contribution in Divi's lab based business too, and in the times ahead with this particular drug keep selling in the markets, the volume of take will be supportive. Other than that, the prices are also expected to be supportive. So that's the positive development coming in for Divi's Lab, which indeed actually is a positive development for Novartis AG, but Divi's is a direct beneficiary of that, and hence the move in stock price as well. Back to you.
So the move has got reversed. That's the same news on which Divi's Lab was on pressure last week, but then now it was a top gainer on the stock. Thanks very much, Srishti, for that detailed analysis on that. We caught up with Mr. Vishnu R. Dosad, who's a co-founder and managing director for Nucleus Software, after they announced that the board is going to decide on a buyback. Let's listen in to what he guides on the margins front and also on the acquisition plans.
Our conversations with our customers continue to be progressing really well, and there is no reason why we would not be able to bounce back to our earlier margins, but we would not be able to comment when and by how much and so on. As far as acquisitions are concerned, as a policy we have. We like to grow organically, and that is what we would continue to do. So there is no acquisition on the cards for few years to come, at least.
That's the word from the management of Nucleus Software. Buyback consideration happening tomorrow for that stock. But let's talk about yet another list of stocks that were in focus today on the back of their individual news flows, block deals, lots of triggers coming in. And Gaurav is standing by to take us through that list. Gaurav.
Well, yes, let's begin with Shriram Properties, because the company has come up with a transformative initiative for the company where they believe that they can actually double its sales, triple its revenue and quadruple its profits over the next 3 years. With this, they also believe that they can actually double the future inventory levels over the next 2 to 3 years. And apart from that, they are going to achieve the leadership in the segment, and that is why the stock is up almost by 12%. Next, let's talk about Indoco Remedies, because this company has received final approval from US FDA for the drug called Lofexidine tablet, which will be for 0.18 mg. This drug will be eligible for 180 days of CGD exclusivity in USA. And if we talk about the sales opportunities, the company has highlighted that this drug has a sales opportunity of around $15 million, and it is expected to grow at a 38%, and that is why this stock was also up. Next, let's talk about Thomas Cook, because this company has partnered with SOTP Travel to launch a customer self-service application. Now, this self-service application will actually take care of the end-to-end post-booking services, and on the back of this, we saw the Thomas Cook stock actually hit upper circuit of around 5%. Next, let's talk about JK Tires, because the company recently acquired 26% stake in Truer Galaxy Private Limited. This company actually takes care of solar power generation, and this will enhance the captive power status for the company, and that is why JK Tire was also up in trade today. And lastly, let's also watch out for PNB Housing, because 5.4% equity changed hands in a bulk trade today, and likely seller are going to be around a likely seller is going to be General Atlantic Singapore Fund, and on back of this, we saw this stock was up almost 8 to 9% in a trade today. So definitely watching out on all these counters in coming days as well.
Thank you very much, Gaurav, for that list and the news behind those stocks. Thanks very much. Well, that's all in this edition of News Bulletin. Thanks very much for watching, but stay tuned for more updates.